we're welcoming Tracy Martin, a devoted father, powerful advocate for social justice and community healing. And since the tragic loss of his Trayvon in 2012, he's transformed his grief into a catalyst for change, traveling across the country, engaging with communities, inspiring dialogue about racial justice, nonviolence, and the invaluable role of fathers. He is the co-author of the poignant narrative Rest in Power, The Enduring Life of Trayvon Martin, and he continues to share his journey and insights, striving to ensure that no other family endures the pain he's experienced. His unwavering commitment to advocacy and his profound impact on the national conversation makes him an extraordinary figure in the fight for a more just and compassionate society. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Tracy Martin.
And I'm gonna,
I put on my Facebook page years ago, and I come back to it and probably put it up every year around Father's Day, a picture with you with your arms around Trayvon. It's an iconic shot with your arms just around your son. And that, to me, that picture, more than anything else, embodies fatherhood in the world that we live in today. And it's because of the obvious love and passion that's in that picture, but also because of the narrative that's happened after it. So can you share with us how this tragic loss of your son has transformed your life, and how did it launch you into this role of advocacy for social justice and responsible fatherhood?
Thank you for the introduction, Bishop. I think first and foremost, I want to thank Kenneth and FI for having me here for this occasion. I think that it's an occasion that's well overdue across the country, not just here in Atlanta. And you guys can excuse me for my attire. Just got off the plane, but they say when you're at home, you can let your hair down and relax. So I feel comfortable in the skin I'm in and in the clothes that I'm in. It's not about glitz and glamour. It's not about being presenting yourself in fashion, where it's about what's inside of you. And so the transformation for me was watching my son being woven into the fabric of this country. Because before February 26, 2012, nobody knew who Trayvon Martin was. And now here we are, years later, everybody know who he is. It's just a sad occasion that he was taken away from us, but he's an iconic figure right now. And my mission, my job is, as a father, is not to let his name be drug in the mud, or not to let him, just sort of fade off into the sunset. So he's in the history books, and we're gonna make sure that he stays in the history books. We didn't get a chance to get justice for him, but we're gonna make them pay for what they did.
Right.
And if making them pay for what they did, if that's educating more of our brothers and empowering more of our brothers, then that's what we're here to do.
You embodied for a lot of us this balance between Black rage and Black dignity. I watched you and cried hard many times because I didn't know how you did it. And so can you share with us how your personal journey influenced your views, not just on fatherhood and the role of fathers, but in the zeitgeist of everything that happened with Trayvon? How do you make sense of it all?
I think, I got to look back on my upbringing. I came from and like many of our young men that's coming through this program, came from a single parent home, but both my parents was involved in my life. And it's funny, my father was a minister. He was a pastor at AME Church. And I was born in Miami, but I was raised in East St. Louis. And so I got to see both ends of the spectrum. And I think as a a young black man growing up in a home with your mother, you have a tendency of listening to everything your mother say. So everything that my mother said was God's honest truth, whether she was telling me something good or bad. I took it for what it was. And so just being able to have that balance, being able to talk to my father and my father telling me that, yeah, what she just told you ain't true. Having that balance, it kind of helped me change my thought process. I tell people all the time, you can be raised in, my grandfather lived in the pork and bean projects in Miami, but he wasn't in the pork and bean projects mentally. And so you can remove yourself from your environment just by your thought process. And so, and I'm not the most educated person in the world, but I got, I think my common sense level would help me get through a lot of the things that I went through. And when I say my common sense level, I knew that I could have easily snapped my fingers and said, hey, let's tear this up when he took my son. And sitting back thinking about it, I said, what good is it gonna do? Still got other kids, still have family members. I'm gonna be locked up in jail, and my baby's still gonna be dead. And a lot of people say, if that was my son, I'd have killed that dude. You'll be in a situation, you'll be in a situation whereas you can't help your family. I feel as though that I've been a provider for my family since I was 18 years old. My first child I was 16 years old when I had my first kid. And so I've been a provider since 16 years old. And not to be able to provide for your family, people who depend on you, that'll change your thought process. When you feel as though you have something to lose, you value those things that you have, those things that you cherish, you value that a lot. And so that kind of played a huge part in my decision just to be the voice for Trayvon, and not let them sweep it under the rug. If you recall, when this first happened, it probably was about 12 seconds of airtime on the news. And it was like, yeah, we don't, this is what it is. And I can recall, man, just telling Sanford Police Department, I said, let me get my baby back home. I'm gonna funeralize him and I'll be back.
Wow, you said a lot there. One of the things that stood out is the coexisting and sometimes tension in the narrative between parents, in the sense of one being the parent, the custodial parent, and the other one not being the custodial parent. And that, amongst other things, provides systemic barriers, social barriers, emotional barriers that Black fathers face almost exclusively. We had a little conversation back there talking about this narrative about Black fathers that we've been raised with that is not true. So what do you see as some of the most significant barriers to Black fathers being active in their children's life?
I think one of the biggest narratives that we have to change is the fact that we're not loving, supporting, caring fathers. The narrative is, and I'll use myself as an example. We were going through, we were picking a jury pool for the trial. And of course, a Caucasian young lady decided to make a comment that if I had been in Trayvon's life, he probably wouldn't have been dead. And, for America to have that, that's what they think that we are. We're not supportive. So for America to just really have that thought process of us, that was disturbing. And so one of the things that we really have to check, if you can check the statistics, we're more involved in our kids' life, whether we're in a single family home or whether we separated, whether it's your baby mama, your baby daddy. We're involved in our kids' lives more than any other ethnicity group. And so just for them to have that narrative, that was just, it was real troubling. And so I think that's where we start at. We got to change their mindset. But before we change their mindset, we got to change our own mindset. And we got to, we have to believe in ourselves. We can't let our masculinity get in the way of being loving, caring, sharing fathers. And when I say that is, we're quick to be definitive and argue amongst each other about what's right and what's wrong. And I joke with my friends all the time, man. I say, I tell them I love you, bro. And, just letting another brother know that you love him, it opens up doors. We've been so bottled up. We hold everything in. I can't cry in front of the public. I can't show my weakness. I can't go get professional help because I'm exposing myself to what it really is. And so we're just afraid to open up to people. And by opening up to people, we think we become vulnerable to certain things, but we got to get help. We have to get help. Just seeking professional help doesn't mean that you mentally disturbed. You need help. We all need help. I know I needed help during my time of grief. And so just being able to reach out to somebody and get some counseling, I think that helped me a lot.
Trayvon's story and the trajectory of Black Lives Matter. A lot of people want to say that the Black Lives Matter movement started with George Floyd, but really the seminal moment in this idea of Black lives, we have to say that Black Lives Matter, really started with your son. It really started then. And how do you think that racial discrimination on Black families has affected both the narrative that we have amongst ourselves? Because we want to keep it a buck, right? A lot of the narrative within communities was, where was his father? And if you go along the timeline, you could go back on YouTube and social medias and all that, and he was never absent. But the assumption amongst us was that he probably was. And so that is a level of racial discrimination that we do to ourselves. So how do you think those things have real world effect on Black families and maybe yourself personally?
They go back and they say, well, he wasn't involved in his son's life. I was so involved in my son's life that me and Miss Fulton, we were separated. We were divorced. And the kids had no knowledge of it. I was still staying in the house in the room with my kids until they fell asleep, and then I go home because I wanted my kids to understand that I wanted them to see two parents in the household. And it wasn't until they started getting a little older, they were like, Dad, you don't live here? No, I don't live here. Why you didn't tell me? Because I wanted y'all to feel that both of your parents were still in the home. And so my son, man, for those that really, really know me, they knew my son. Me and my son was like this. That was my guy. And so, and it's funny that my youngest son now, so I have an 11-year-old, Trayvon got killed in 2012, February 2012. He had just turned 17, 3 weeks past his birthday. And when his life was taken away from me and it wasn't anything planned, January 2013, my now wife had my youngest son, January, the first day of the New Year's. And so it was just, I was like, man, I just lost my son in February, and here, New Year's Day, first day of 2013, my baby boy was born. And when I say, it's just like reincarnation. This kid is just like, he calls me and like, hey, where you at? Where you at? today I was coming riding, and Brother Javen was riding and driving me here from the airport, and I got a phone call, and he was like, "You ain't call me and tell me you landed." And that's the same thing that Trayvon used to do. You home from work, Dad? Well, why you didn't call me and let me know you're home from work? And so my relationship, not only with Trayvon, not only with Tyler, but all of my kids, man. I think, and this is just something that's probably in our family. Everybody, all my cousins, all my brothers, all my sisters, whatever the case may be, everybody is close with their kids. And this is my auntie. She lives here in the Atlanta area, and these are her two boys, right? And they are so close. Our family is like close knit. And so just having them, and they can attest to the things that I'm saying about our family, just knowing how close our family is, it's just, it just makes you feel good, that you have somebody in your family that can attest to what you do and support you. And so that support system is real huge, and that's a part of, kind of like a part of what I call success, if you call success doing this type of work after a tragic loss. So, but yeah, man, I family values, that's what we all about.
James Baldwin said that to be Black in America is to live in a perpetual state of rage. So in the 17 years of Trayvon's life, and in his 17 years of life, you had to deal with that rage. I cannot imagine, and I don't think any of us can imagine, the level of rage that you must have experienced knowing that your son had been taken from you. How did you manage that? How did you, you spoke on it a little bit, but there's got to be something inside of you besides just saying, what if I get taken away from my family? What if I can't provide for my family? How did you maintain? And here's the thing, not just maintained it on a regular level, but on a national stage. We watched you and Sister Sabrina every time, every press conference, every time you're out there, and you could see in your face the grief and the anger, but how did you maintain it and stop from losing it and taking somebody's head from them? Because I think that's what all of us would have wanted to do.
I think it's just by the grace of God, man. I elaborated on it earlier. My father was a ordained minister, and so just being able to get on the bended knee and pray to God that I kept my sanity, didn't do nothing that I was going to regret, even though that was something. And like I said before, I'm going to let my hair down. And so still to this day, I have those thoughts of doing something. And so, because that's how much my son meant to me. But just having a strong family support system, being able to, my wife is amazing. She's held me down since 7/17/2012. That's the hour that he got killed. And so she's been like there for me. Having a strong support system is real important. Because you do get, you get people that say, hey man, let's go do this. And then you got the good side where it say, hey, listen, don't take no chance. Let's talk about it. And so having a good support system, being able to have that conversation, that one-on-one conversation with God, because before this, I don't think I had as many conversations one-on-one with God. And so just when you get in those dark times, those dark moments, that dark hour where nobody around and you breaking down, and it's mentally draining because my future had been taken away from me. And so just trying to wrap my thoughts around that, it was tough. And so just having somebody to support you, that's the only way I can explain it.
You said you have a younger son. You have a younger son who is 11. How do you teach him about nonviolence? How do you teach him about conflict resolution? And what would you recommend to other fathers who to be able to teach conflict resolution to their kids?
Be an open book. You can't. Since day one, I haven't hidden anything from him. He learned about Ben Crump just by watching Ben Crump on TV. He learned about Al Sharpton just by me being by their side on TV. He learned about President Barack Obama. He got in-depth knowledge about President Barack Obama just by the president mentioning Trayvon's name on national TV. And so just being able to have that open book dialogue with your kids, letting them know, don't sugarcoat nothing, because since he has been able to talk, walk and talk, we never did the baby talk to him. We never did the goo goo gaga with him. We gave him the real spiel. Listen, you got to be careful when you're going out in the streets. And we did it with all of our children. I did it with all my kids, but this one here, he was just thrust into the spotlight because my home was open. I mean, I was an open book. You knew everything about me. It wasn't no, I'm hiding this from the public or whatever. The doors to my home was kicked open, and everybody knew what was going on in my home, and we didn't have nothing to hide. And so, I had to protect them from the media. I had to protect him, my daughter, my other kids. I had to protect everybody from the media. But just letting them know that, the adversity that I'm going through, I'm gonna show the world how to fight through this adversity. And, that what was the determining factor, what's the determining factor of what we teach our kids and what we want them to know is we got to teach them common sense. If you get stopped by the police, comply. Because your main objective is to make it home, right? And so comply. If he tell you to sit down on the curb, sit down on the curb. It ain't gonna do nothing but put a little dirt on your pants. Use common sense, and just educate yourself on what's, the laws of where you at, and just being, you got to have street smarts and book smarts if you're African American. You can't have one without the other. Street smarts gonna get you home. Book smarts gonna get you on top of the world.
People who've not experienced grief, especially, grief for most people, we hope people to live, so 100 years old and we grieve them, they're gone, but it's kind of expected. That was a grief that was palpable, and I'm sure it's ongoing. You talked about therapy and stuff, but what's your ongoing strategy to continue to deal with the grief? Because your grief, unlike most of our grief, is something that keeps popping up on our timelines. Every February, every Black History Month, every time there's another hashtag, your son's name is there. How do you deal with that level of grief?
I think one of the easiest ways to deal with what I'm going through personally is just like if I gets called 2:00 in the morning, he's answering the phone. I get those calls, and so just being able to navigate someone else through their pain, just through my experience, that kind of helps me cope with my grief. I think we all grieve different. Everybody have their own coping mechanisms or what have not, but everybody's story is not the same. Everybody, and I look at it, and I'll never tell a person that son or daughter has been taken away from them due to gun violence. I'll never tell them that I know how you feel, because I don't know how you feel. I know how I felt. I know how my relationship was with my son. I know how we interacted. I don't know how you feel because I don't know your relationship with your child. And so, but I understand what you're going through. I feel you, but I don't know how you feel. And so being able to help others deal with their grief, being able to hear my son's name continue to resonate across, his name is just resonating across the world like, it's like wildfire. And that helps me because it's probably about 90% positive coming from across the country. You always gonna have some negative, but with that 10% negative out there, if it makes me uncomfortable, if it makes them uncomfortable, me talking about him and keeping his name uplifted, then damn it, so be it. They just gonna be uncomfortable because I'm gonna keep doing what I do. If that's the way I deal with my grief, if that's what gives me some comfort by keeping his name, as long if they talking about him, I know I'm doing something right. And so just by us keep continuing to push his name and trying to change laws and things like that, that helped me out a lot, man.
There are some terms that became part of our lives, much due to Trayvon's life and tragic death. One of those words is systemic racism, because in the ensuing trial and all of the stuff with that person who will remain nameless, this idea of systemic racism that has impacted our mental health as a people, right? And how do you think communities can better support people prior to, during, and after tragedies?
I think for the most part, when you say support, everybody think that it's a financial thing, and it's not. I think that support comes when you're able to reach out to programs and get assistance mentally, or being directed in the right direction. Support comes from all different angles. I think when the first thing that America feels as though when we have one of these tragic incidents happen, and I heard it just the other day, oh, here's another foundation about to be created. It's not about creating a foundation, it's about continuing the legacy of that person. And so having a support system, because before Trayvon was taken away from us, I knew of Al Sharpton, didn't know him, didn't know Ben Crump, many other people that surrounded us, I had no idea who they were. But by us doing the right thing, by me not clicking and going off the handle, that got the support that we needed to get to where we are today. And just being able to just knowing that you got somebody there to say, hey, I'm gonna bring attention to this. You guys listen to Ben Crump talk, and when I first heard him, I was like, man, ain't no way we finna gain some momentum. And the more he talked, the more people the more the other, I'd say the other nationalities started to dislike him, and the more attention he started to bring, and the more attention he brought, it brought us together as a people. Throughout history, there's always something that brings us together, and it just so happened that Trayvon brought us together. And I never thought that it would have got to the level that it had gotten to, but that was just straight support, grassroots organization. It was the young people. It was the young people that actually catapulted it to where it was the young people, the students from FAMU, Historical Black College, sitting on the steps of the Capitol. It was the people marching from Bethune-Cookman all the way to Tallahassee. It was the busloads of people driving up from Miami all the way to Orlando. That was just support that we needed. That was a support system. That was a support system that was truly needed. And once we start getting that support system, then came, we started getting celebrities from all across the country because they felt involved. They wanted to be involved because we were involved. We wasn't just gonna let the city of Sanford just say, okay, this kid got killed. Here's the story. We arrested the guy. We let him go. There's nothing we can do. And that just wasn't a suitable answer for us. And so once we saw I think once we saw the momentum had built up and, everybody was tweeting about it, everybody was on Facebook about it, it was like, it's on now. And so once it was on, there's no turning back. There wasn't no turning back. You put your 2 feet in, you got to go forward. And if we showed any sign of cracking, they would just did what they do. But thanks to us not letting our character be destroyed, now everybody, if it wasn't for us, and I probably could phrase this in a different way, but if it wasn't for the Trayvon Martin situation, we wouldn't know about Breonna Taylor, we wouldn't know about George Floyd, we wouldn't know about all these other incidents, Tamir Rice, because everybody would stay quiet. But that's a part of giving the voiceless a voice. Them seeing what we did, how we took our tragedy and turned it into triumph by helping our communities. And so all that just encompassed with just having faith got us to where we are today.
I want to ask one more question. I want to get some comments from the audience, but I just need to ask, when you said the exact same thing I was going to say about tragedy into triumph. Could you tell us, I'm sure there's a lot, but if you could single out one thing that you've seen happen in the wake of all this, something, a movement or something that's happened in the wake of all this that you could say, I'm proud of this, what would that be?
By citizens holding the police accountable. Because now you see the police starting to get arrested for brutality on our young Black and brown boys and girls. They're starting to get arrested. And now, that's saying a lot, because boys in blue ain't gonna arrest one of their own. They won't arrest one of their own. But now we have the power to stand up to them. I'm not gonna say every case is the same, but we got the power. We have the power. More people are starting to turn out to vote. More people are just getting out in the community organizing. There's so many groups organizing, and I think we've taught America how to have peaceful protests and getting our point across. And so all of that is a part of our journey. It's a part of that turning tragedy into triumph.
I think one of the most important things for me, even though this guy wasn't a cop, but we know that the mindset that he had is representative of what many police think about us when they engage us. I remember having we had a program in my church called Hoodies, Skittles, and we all had the Arizona iced tea and the Skittles and the hoodies. I still have pictures from that night because it impacted us in such a way that, and we have to say, I don't think that we have said to you, thank you. Because as a father, you showed me this dignity and this strength and this resiliency and this dogged determination to say, this isn't over. And we have to thank you for that. And I know that you didn't do it to be fair. We'd all much rather that we never knew Trayvon Martin's name and he'd be someplace with his own kids and you'd be a grandfather playing with your grandkids. So we'd much rather that. Thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. And you are a true unsung American hero.
Thank you, guys.